You've seen a glitch in a video game, a wall that flickers, a character frozen mid-air, a loop that shouldn't exist. Now imagine that happening in real life, from déjà vu and repeating dreams to impossible coincidences, parallel timelines, and moments that feel too perfect to be random. These are the things that make you stop and ask, is reality stable, or are we just living inside a broken simulation? Today, we're diving deep into the 7 levels of real-life glitches. From harmless brain hiccups to world-bending anomalies that defy everything we know about physics, time, and logic. Let's start at level 1, where the cracks in reality are small enough to ignore, but once you notice them, you can't unsee them. Every system, no matter how perfect, has small errors. The human mind is no different, and at level 1, the glitches aren't in the universe. They're in us. We call them everyday slips. Moments where reality feels soft around the edges, where memory and perception misalign by just enough to make you question yourself. You walk into a room and forget why you came. You swear you left keys on the counter, then find them in the fridge next to the milk. A song plays in your head, and seconds later, it's on the radio. Coincidence? Maybe. But the human brain doesn't like coincidences. It fills in blanks, it corrects mistakes, it edits the world to match what it expects to see. In other words, you glitch every day, you just don't notice it. Psychologists call this confirmation bias, or inattentional blindness, or confabulation. Fancy names for the brain's habit of patching its own code. You forget something, so your mind invents a story to fill the gap. You see patterns that aren't there, because your brain would rather find meaning than admit randomness. But here's the strange part. Sometimes, these small mental errors sync up with the world outside. You think of an old friend you haven't spoken to in years, and they text you that same day. You dream of an event, and it happens almost exactly a week later. And suddenly, you're not sure if your brain is misfiring or if reality is listening. Most people stop thinking about it. They shrug it off as intuition, coincidence, or weird timing. But every once in a while, someone notices the pattern. They start to see that the world occasionally hiccups, not just in thought, but in physical space. Lights flicker in sync with emotion. Objects move when no one's looking. Time stutters for a heartbeat. At level 1, the world isn't broken. It's just unstable in small, almost endearing ways. A reminder that even the simplest code can sometimes loop, that even reality needs to refresh itself every now and then. You can live your whole life at this level and never question it. You'll laugh off the coincidences, blame the distractions, and carry on with your day. But if you ever stop to wonder, if you ever look too closely, you'll start to see the tiny seams holding everything together. And once you see the first crack in the code, you can't unsee it, because the glitches aren't staying small anymore. Welcome to level 2. Level 2, the mental loops. At level 2, the glitches stop being random. They start to repeat, patterns emerge where none should exist, and suddenly, the same strange thing happens again and again. You think you're reliving moments, but you're not. You're looping through them. You leave your house, lock the door, and halfway down the street, you're gripped by doubt. Did you actually lock it? So you go back, check, it's locked. You leave again. 2 minutes later, you're doubting it again. It's not forgetfulness, it's a feedback loop between reality and reassurance. The mind replays the same sequence until it convinces itself that reality's state has changed. But what if reality doesn't always play along? Psychologists describe this as a cognitive error, an obsessive loop, or a temporal echo. But some people describe something much stranger. They swear that when they go back to check the door, the time on their phone hasn't moved, 2 minutes erased, clocks skipping backward, conversations repeating word for word. They're not just doubting memory anymore, they're doubting time itself. This is the first level where reality feels alive, like it's aware of being observed. You stare too long at a digital clock and the numbers hesitate before switching, as if waiting for you to blink. You finish a thought, then hear someone nearby say that same sentence out loud. You experience déjà vu so strong you can predict the next 3 seconds of reality perfectly. Every microsecond feels recycled, every motion rehearsed. At level 2, the world starts whispering back. It's the mental equivalent of hearing your own voice echo through a canyon. Only this canyon doesn't exist in space, it exists in time. And the longer you listen, the louder that echo becomes. Online forums are full of these stories. People reporting the same repeating sensations. Waking up at exactly 3:33 a.m., seeing the same number on every receipt, the same car following them on different days. Coincidence? Or a code running on loop? Some believe these are signs of simulation lag, Tiny resets in a world that occasionally refreshes its own state. Others think they're mental artifacts. The brain caching reality like an app that refuses to close. But what's unsettling is that both explanations make sense. Because whether it's a bug in your neurons or a bug in the universe, the result feels the same. A moment that shouldn't exist twice. At first, the loops are small, just seconds, just sensations. But with time, some people claim the loops grow. Entire days start repeating. Conversations replay with microscopic precision. And when they try to record it, the footage never shows what they remember seeing. At this level, the world isn't fully broken. It's syncing, aligning with something invisible, some hidden cycle that runs beneath everything. You start to sense it before it happens. You start to feel the lag before the glitch. Level 1 made you notice reality's cracks. Level 2 makes you feel them. And for most people, that's where it stops. They rationalize it. They call it déjà vu, anxiety, fatigue. They stop looking. But for those who don't stop, for those who keep observing, the loop eventually tightens. And when it does, you don't return to the same reality you left. That's when you fall into level 3, the repeating room. Trevor once wrote something strange on an old Tumblr post buried between his sketches. A sentence most people skipped over. Some creatures don't stay in space. They stay in moments. They repeat until you notice them. That was years ago, long before anyone realized what he meant. But maybe this is it. Level 3, the repeating room. You see, most people think the monsters appear in forests or streets or tunnels, but sometimes they appear in loops, not locations, moments. It starts small. You take a picture of your living room, and when you check it an hour later, the clock in the background shows the same time. You swear you turned off the lights, but the shadows on the wall haven't moved. And when you play back the footage, you catch something standing perfectly still, as if it's waiting for the reset. In 2016, a Reddit user claimed to see the same man walking past his window every night at 3:14 a.m. Same steps, same outfit, same direction. He set up a camera to prove it. The footage shows the man passing 6 nights in a row, and on the 7th, he stops mid-step, turns his head toward the camera, and smiles. On the wall behind him, a faint outline of a horse's skull flickers in the static. A shape Trevor once called Long Horse's Echo. There's a rumor among digital horror archivists that Trevor wasn't inventing his monsters. He was mapping them, documenting energy patterns that already existed, creatures that used repetition to anchor themselves in reality. He once said in an interview, "I think the scariest thing isn't when something's there, it's when it keeps being there." Researchers from the University of Toronto's Visual Cognition Lab have tried explaining these experiences as a side effect of pareidolia, the brain patterns that aren't real. But when they recreated looped rooms using AR projections, something went wrong. Every test subject reported seeing a faint silhouette appear in the exact same spot during each repetition, even after the image was randomized. Different faces, same position, same posture, every single time. They nicknamed it the Watcher because no matter how many loops they ran, the figure never blinked. People who've experienced level 3 say they start to feel watched by the architecture itself. Walls breathe, lights hum, and somewhere in the corner of their eye, something tall, pale, and patient waits for the next loop to load. That's when the glitch stops being random. It becomes personal. One of Trevor's unreleased concepts, known among fans as the Rememberer, was supposedly based on a dream where he entered a hallway that folded endlessly into itself. He said every time he turned a corner, he could see his own back, walking just a second ahead, until he realized the one in front wasn't him anymore. He never finished that drawing. Maybe he didn't need to. Maybe he realized the creature wasn't in his head, it was in the loop itself. So if your room ever feels like it's replaying itself, if your clock repeats a minute, if your reflection blinks half a second too late, you might have hit level 3, and if you start hearing a faint creaking sound, like the stretching of a spine, the bending of air, don't look up, because that's when Long Horse arrives, to warn you that the next loop won't end the same way. Level 4, the self-split. By level 4, the glitch stops playing with your surroundings and starts playing with you. This is where the distortion turns inward. It's not your world that shifts anymore, it's your sense of self. You wake up one morning and something's off. Your reflection looks normal, but the timing's wrong. You blink first. You raise your hand, and for a fraction of a second, the reflection lags behind. Neurologists call this a temporal dissociation, a rare misfire between the visual cortex and the parietal lobe, the brain region that keeps track of your body in space. It happens when the mirror neuron system desynchronizes. For most people, it lasts milliseconds, but for some, it expands into something much stranger. In 2004, a study from the University Hospital of Geneva documented patients who reported seeing themselves from outside their bodies. One woman described watching her own body turn toward her from a few feet away. Brain scans revealed electrical discharges in her temporoparietal junction, the same region responsible for distinguishing self from other. The glitch was real, measurable, visible on EEGs. Psychologists call it autoscopic hallucination. But there's a detail the papers don't emphasize. In several cases, nurses and relatives confirmed seeing the patient move, even when monitors showed no physical motion. It was as if perception had split reality into two overlapping frames. Then there's the famous case of Heinrich K., a German engineer in the 1920s who claimed his copy shadowed him for months. His journals describe it following him into reflections, mirroring every motion with a half-second delay. He wasn't diagnosed with schizophrenia or epilepsy. He died years later with no history of delusion, but his accounts match modern cases almost perfectly. And it's not just individuals. In 2014, Dr. Olaf Blanca, one of Europe's leading neurologists, managed to induce out-of-body illusions in a lab. By stimulating a small area of the brain with electrodes, he made subjects feel as though they were standing behind their own bodies, looking at themselves from a distance. When the current was increased, the second self began to move independently. For the first time, a scientist had replicated the doppelganger effect, a real, measurable self-glitch. It suggests that your you, the conscious self you feel anchored to Senokyu, is just a projection held together by electrical timing. If that timing stutters, the projection duplicates. Another eerie pattern. Patients who experience this level of dissociation often report hearing their own voice delayed, as if sound is arriving from the wrong version of reality. Audio engineers at MIT tested this by artificially adding a half-second delay to subjects' speech feedback. Most people couldn't finish a single sentence, their brains froze, trying to resync identity. The voice delay alone was enough to create panic and disorientation. So when people say they see another them, science doesn't dismiss it anymore. It studies it, because every time the illusion is measured, the same coordinates light up inside the brain, and as if the code of consciousness is revealing where it can break. By level 4, you're not just witnessing glitches in the environment, you're witnessing a glitch in identity itself. You start to understand that the self, the most sacred, stable thing you thought you had, is actually a fragile construct of synchronized neurons. If that system drifts even slightly, you can exist twice or more. Next comes level 5, where the glitch moves beyond identity and begins bending time itself, where cause and effect swap places and the universe starts repeating its own code. Level 5, the time folds. By the time you reach level 5, the glitch stops copying you and starts copying time itself. This is where cause and effect begin to blur, where moments repeat, overlap, or vanish entirely. It's the level where you begin to notice that the clock doesn't always tick in one direction. You'll pour coffee, look away for half a second, and the cup will be empty, even though you remember drinking it moments ago. You'll hear your phone buzz, check it, see no notification, and then a few seconds later it buzzes again with the exact same sound. Small loops, tiny repetitions, but they stack up, and soon you're caught in a feedback cycle. Events reloading, memories replaying like reality buffering in real time. Science actually recognizes this phenomenon. It's called chronostasis, the stopped clock illusion. When you glance at a clock and the second hand seems frozen, that's your brain editing time, filling in a gap caused by saccadic eye movement. You literally experience a few hundred milliseconds of extra time that never existed. In 2002, Oxford University researchers proved that the brain stretches or compresses time based on attention and motion, meaning the more unexpected something is, the longer it feels. And when it's routine, your brain skips it. Reality isn't continuous, it's rendered in frames. And sometimes those frames repeat. That's why déjà vu feels like a system error. For a brief instant, your short-term memory sinks out of order. You store the same moment twice. Scientists at the University of Leeds found that déjà vu often occurs when the brain's frontal lobe tries to correct a false memory but misfires, convincing you you've been here before. But there's another version of this glitch, one that can't be explained by memory alone. In 2019, a man in Toronto reported living through an entire day twice. He could predict conversations, traffic lights, and even headlines before they appeared. Medical scans found no brain injury, no epilepsy, no psychosis. Doctors labeled it temporal looping disorder, a 1 in a billion condition. It's as if the timeline hiccuped, replaying the same data sequence twice. And this isn't isolated. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory once recorded a signal anomaly during a satellite calibration. Two identical data packets arrived from the same source, separated by 1.8 seconds, but both stamped with identical timestamps. The explanation? Unknown transmission latency, but in simpler terms, the data repeated itself in time. The deeper you go, the more you notice it. Moments don't flow, they fold. You'll start catching fragments of the future before they happen, like pre-echoes of reality still downloading. In psychology, it's called precognition bias. In physics, closed time-like curves. And in the language of the glitch, it's the point where time forgets which direction it's supposed to play. It's why you sometimes feel like the same week is looping again and again. Different choices, same outcomes. Because maybe it is. Maybe the simulation can't load a new timeline until the last one fully resolves. Some people in this level report time echoes. Hearing conversations before they happen, or watching someone walk into a room seconds before they actually do. Their EEGs show no hallucination markers, just abnormal bursts of temporal lobe synchronization, as if the brain's internal clock is falling out of sync with universal time. At level 5, reality doesn't break, it repeats, and each repetition erases a little more of your certainty. You stop asking, "What time is it?" and start asking, "Which time is this?" The glitch isn't just bending your perception now, it's bending causality. Effects can precede causes. You drop a glass and hear it shatter before it hits the ground. Einstein once said that time is an illusion, a persistent one. But in level 5, you start to see the seams of that illusion. Because once time stops being linear, reality becomes editable. And if the timeline can loop, so can you. Next comes level 6, where the glitch stops mimicking time and starts rewriting the world's code itself. Level 6, the code rewrite. By level 6, the glitch is no longer a trick of your senses. It's not your brain or your memory or your timeline. It's the system itself, rewriting its own code while you're still inside it. At this stage, the rules of the physical world, gravity, temperature, probability, begin to drift. You drop a pencil and instead of falling, it hangs mid-air for a heartbeat, then continues downward as if reality remembered too late what it was supposed to do. You flip a coin 5 times, heads, 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 heads. Statistically improbable, yes. Impossible? Number. But when it happens 50 times in a row, you start to realize the math isn't just unlikely, it's wrong. This is what scientists call law fluctuation anomalies. Tiny, localized breakdowns in statistical consistency. They're real. In 2016, physicists at the University of Vienna recorded photons changing spin states mid-measurement, as if they knew they were being observed. The phenomenon became known as the quantum observer effect. But some researchers whispered a darker phrase, code interference. The idea that reality might operate like a running program, with particles behaving differently when the system detects someone is watching. Nick Bostrom's simulation hypothesis first proposed this back in 2003, that the universe could be a computational construct, rendering data only when needed, just like a video game engine saving processing power. In 2020, a team at MIT's Computer Science and AI lab ran tests comparing cosmic ray distributions with simulated renderings. They found a pattern, a measurable pixelation effect in the energy grid of the universe. Not proof, but a whisper, like someone tugging on the curtain that hides the machinery. And if reality is code, then level 6 is where the code begins to malfunction. Objects vanish between blinks, mirrors reflect rooms that aren't there, streetlights flicker in Morse code patterns that spell your name. The world starts debugging itself. People who reach this level often report what's called pattern amplification, seeing hidden systems behind random noise, raindrops falling in binary, clouds forming equations, birds flying in perfect geometric shapes. In neurology, it's called apophenia. In the glitch, it's called seeing the code. And sometimes, it's not hallucination. A 2021 Stanford quantum computing study observed random number generators syncing across labs thousands of miles apart, without shared data or timing systems. Two computers, completely isolated, produce the same random sequence. That's statistically impossible, unless both systems are reading from the same underlying source file. At level 6, that's what's happening to you. You're no longer just inside the simulation, you're touching its architecture. That's why electronics misbehave around you. Phones glitch out, streetlights die when you walk under them, video playback skips ahead, and sometimes you catch a frame of something that shouldn't exist, a building in ruins that's perfectly fine when you look again. Those who have experienced this describe it as reality fraying around the edges. Not breaking, just updating. NASA once received telemetry from the ISS that included a 5-second burst of data describing a completely different Earth, different continents, different star positions. The signal vanished as quickly as it appeared, written off as a cosmic ray error. but cosmic rays don't rewrite star maps. At level 6, every natural law becomes a suggestion. Objects fall slower, voices echo longer. Sometimes, gravity reverses itself for milliseconds, and drops of water rise upward like the code forgot which way down is. There's a reason ancient texts described gods as world shapers. They might have just been early witnesses to localized code alteration, humans walking through the debugging of reality itself. Einstein said, energy and matter are interchangeable. But what if information, plus the code behind them, is the real constant? Once you begin to see the code, you can feel it. Threads connecting everything, visible, vibrating, alive. And when that connection starts to ripple, the world shifts to make sense of it. Rewriting events, rewriting outcomes, rewriting you. People vanish from your life without explanation. Photos change, dates no longer match. It's not your memory failing, it's a program updating its save file. At this stage, survival isn't about hiding anymore, it's about stability. You have to ground yourself to an anchor point, a place, a sound, an object that feels real. Because the more you question the code, the more it reboots itself to correct the paradox. Level 6 isn't chaos, it's maintenance. You're witnessing the system rewriting its own physics to preserve balance. But every correction comes with a cost, a memory lost, a possibility deleted, a version of you erased. And if you linger here too long, you'll watch the correction process turn on you. Because when the system detects a variable that knows it's inside the code, it doesn't fix the glitch, it deletes it. Level 7 isn't about broken rules anymore, it's about no rules at all. The part of the simulation that even the system itself fears to load. Level 7, the blank. It starts quietly, no explosions, no distortions, just stillness. The kind that makes you realize the world's been holding its breath. You wake up one morning and something feels off, not wrong exactly, just too right. The air feels cleaner, the sunlight warmer, people smile a little too long, everything feels like a perfect simulation of life, and that's what makes it terrifying. You go through your day, noticing details you've never seen before, a crack on the wall that wasn't there yesterday, a stranger's face in the crowd that seems oddly familiar, like you've dreamed them. The clock ticks, but the sound lags behind the motion. At first, you blame fatigue, stress, screens, but then the small inconsistencies start stacking. The street outside loops back on itself. Your reflection a split second after you do. And when you call a friend to check if they notice it too, the call connects, but you hear your own voice on the other end. That's when you realize it's not the world glitching, it's you. Reality hasn't changed. Your mind has. Somewhere between your first memory and your last dream, the boundary that separated thought from existence collapsed. Scientists once called it derealization, when the brain can no longer tell what's real. But what if it's not a malfunction? What if it's the final layer of perception, peeling itself away? Maybe the human mind wasn't meant to see the code. Maybe when we notice the patterns, the loops, the symmetry, the strange coincidences, we start to wake up, not from the dream, but from reality itself. The walls, the sky, the language, the time, all of it was a construct, a stage, a consistent illusion designed to keep us sane. And once you see the curtain move, once you realize it was never solid, you can't unsee it. You don't glitch out of the world, you glitch into understanding. And that's the collapse, not destruction, revelation. Because maybe the final glitch isn't a bug in the system. Maybe it's the truth through, the realization that the real world was never real, just a reflection of your own perception, folding endlessly in on itself. And in that moment, when everything stops making sense, you feel it, a calm, a deep, terrifying peace, because you've finally seen it. The universe doesn't crash, it simply wakes up through you. And so we've reached the end, 7 levels deep, from the everyday mistakes in the matrix to the collapse of everything we thought was real. But maybe it was never about the world breaking, maybe it was about us noticing. Every time we questioned déjà vu, every time the same number followed us, every time a stranger knew our name, maybe that was reality whispering, "You're starting to see." We search for answers, in science, in code, in dreams. But what if the truth isn't out there to be decoded? What if the glitch is the universe reflecting back the parts of us we can't understand? Because sometimes, pattern doesn't reveal a secret, it reveals you. And maybe that's all the glitch ever was, a mirror hidden in plain sight, showing us how fragile, how powerful, how unreal our own minds can be. So when the next glitch happens, don't panic, don't pull away, just look closer. Because the moment you question reality is the moment reality begins to question you.